Welcome to the complete animation of Sisu from Walt Disney Animation Studios' 2021 animated film Raya and the Last Dragon. Now, this movie did not impress me the first time I saw it in terms of its story and its characters, but visually, it blew me away. And working on this complete animation once again showed me just why I was blown away. Because holy cow, this movie is gorgeous. I still think that the story isn't anything to write home about, and I still think that the characters aren't that great. But holy cow, this movie is so pretty. It's like Disney really is at the top of their game in terms of technical prowess. And I think that the most impressive part of this entire movie is the water. The water looks so good. You can tell that the animators who worked on Moana and Frozen 2 also worked here because the water just looks so good. Especially the chaotic frothing and bubbling at the surface. That it just looks so good. The water is so pretty. The lighting is so pretty in this movie. They really nailed volumetric light shafts. They really nailed having sort of like an artificial filmic quality to everything. Yeah, this movie is just gorgeous, and nobody will be able to convince me otherwise. This movie is a looker. But let's talk about the problems with the story. The big problems that I see with this movie's story is that, for one, it's too short. This movie is trying to be a lot more epic than its time frame allows. This movie is less than 2 hours long. Like, the kind of story that they're trying to tell would be much better told if it were more like 2.5 or maybe even 3 hours long. Especially the stuff at the beginning. At the beginning, there's just a giant exposition dump where it's, nice hand-made maps and charts and paintings and things, but it's still just such an exposition dump. I think that this movie would have been better if they had just taken the time to show you that stuff. Think about The Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings, it was able to do that giant exposition dump, but it worked because it was real footage. It was like actually showing you the stuff. It felt kind of a bit like a montage, but they made it work. They did not make it work in Raya and the Last Dragon. And there are just so many things going on in between that could have used more time too. Like when they go to each of the kingdoms to show how they obtained the bits of the dragon gem stone, whatever, I forget what it's called. Those little snippets were not nearly long enough to give you a proper idea of the places and things. And this movie just needed more time to tell the story it wanted to. And holy cow, the main villain girl, I did not like her. And the whole thing was supposed to be about her being able to have a redemption arc or something that just didn't work. And it's kind of sad that it didn't work, because anybody who has seen Friendship is Magic knows how satisfying it is to have cool villains become good guys. It's that's one of the things that made that series so enjoyable for so many people, is they actually spent the time. Okay, right here, this water. Holy cow, this water is so good. I could gush about the water in this movie for so long. And here comes at the very top. Look at that. Oh my goodness, it's so chaotic, and it's like perfectly realistic water messing around with a cartoon character. It is such an interesting juxtaposition. It's so good. But yeah, back to the problems of this movie. Not long enough, the villain isn't good enough, and holy cow, the whole stunt they tried to pull of Sisu dying and then coming back, that was not satisfying. It's like, in a movie where you see a character, get a crossbow bolt to the chest and they're dead, like, that is a heavy, heavy, heavy plot, like, event that you just did. And you better be willing to have done it right. And this movie did not do it right. It could have been done right. There's so much of this movie that could have been done right, but it just wasn't. And I feel like it's just sad. Because I like it when movies do good things. I want to enjoy movies. But sometimes the best I can do is just open my eyes and just gaze at the incredible eye candy on display. Now let's talk about Sisu. So her design is interesting. This entire dragon design is clearly supposed to have a lot more Eastern influence than Western. Because Western dragons are dragons like, Smaug in The Hobbit, where they've got wings, they're Western dragons. You know what? My audience is smart. Anybody who watches my videos probably knows about Eastern and Western dragons. So yeah, this is clearly Eastern dragon stuff. And I think that they did that whole style pretty well. It's like, some Eastern dragons are like way out there with like 8 legs or whatever. But I think that this had a pretty good compromise. It's like, it has Western sensibilities because it's clearly a Western studio. This little bit of 2D animation is awesome. And yeah. So I've heard the complaint that Sisu looks like Elsa, but made into a creature. I don't really see it. I just see, like, sort of this generation of Disney art style. It's like, if you want to complain about anything, just complain about the humans. Because holy cow, these humans are just like the most by the books continuation of the art style that Disney pioneered for Tangled. It's like, back when Tangled came out, it's like, oh wow, Disney, this new style that you got going on, it works. It's neat. It's like a clean but still detailed style that you got going on here, and it's neat. And then when they made Frozen just a few years later, it's like, oh yeah, so it's a continuation of that style. It's like the same universe. But then after Moana and Big Hero 6, and now this, it's like, come on, Disney. We've seen this art style. We've seen it so many times for your humans. It's like Raya. Like, I don't think much of her as a character, but I certainly, like, the moment I saw her face, it was like, come on, Disney. Is this really what we're going to be looking at again? We've seen this. That's why it was such a breath of fresh air when Pixar made... Oh, Luca. That's what the new one is. I haven't seen it yet, but I saw saw a trailer, and it's like, yes! Look at that! This is, good, modern CG, but the humans, like, they don't look like they've looked for the last so many years. In fact, in one of their movies, Coco, Pixar straight up, like, followed the trend. Like, Coco's humans look like they could have come from a Disney movie. And so, yeah, let's talk. Going back to Sisu, I don't really see her looking like Elsa, but I do see the trend in human faces, um, sort of manifesting in her face. But I think it works. Um, I think that it's neat that they made her such a joking character. I think that if a movie is going to not be the best, at least if the characters feel like they're having a good time, that'll help. And but the animators, they took this character design and really put it through its paces. In my book, the mark of good animation, of a complete like animated work, is when you watch it and you pay attention to a character and you're like, yeah, that character did everything I would want a character like that to do. Because it's like the biggest letdown when there's an awesome character and you feel like there's so much that you wanted to see that character do, but they just didn't. Raya and the Last Dragon does not have that. This character model is put through its paces in every way that you would want. And by the time the movie is ended, you're like, yeah, that character in terms of animation was thoroughly explored. All right, here we are coming up in the video where it's like the most awful plot point, like the most poorly done of it all. And then the final showdown didn't really hit. And again, I think that this entire part of the movie could have been made better if they just had more time. Because as it is, it feels like they wanted to tell, just the giant Southeast Asian fantasy epic, but instead it feels like they never really reached there. That like they were reaching for it, but they never got there. And it's because it was too short. So I will say this. All the other dragons are pretty awesome. And I really like Sisu's relationship with her brothers and sisters. I myself come from a big family. So yeah, I got 6 brothers and 4 sisters. Big family. And like, I'd make a big deal of it too if like 5 or 6 of my siblings were embroiled in an epic conflict and I was the only one left and they had disappeared. I'd make a big deal of it too. So, like, yeah, that's one of the plot things that I just absolutely love about this movie. It's like Sisu's got brothers and sisters, and they're a dream team together. But I wish that we were able to see more of them. In fact, like, I really wish that we were able to see the other dragons talking. The most we see is her oldest brother, Pengu, as they're running towards the credits. Give her a little nudge in the side, say, like, basically just saying, you did good, kid, sort of a thing. Although I will say, Sisu's fur and hair is glorious. Absolutely glorious. There's a scene where Raya's like really giving her a good hug and you get a really good detailed look at Sisu's fur. So pretty. And so that is basically my thoughts on Raya and the Last Dragon. Absolutely gorgeous movie. Did not live up to the potential it had. Was too short. But I'm glad I made this video. Thanks for watching.